Welcome back to Saga 3 Kings, session number 102, entitled Terminus. This should prove to be the finale of the series. Last session, the fight with now Nefandus, the Shadow Dragon or Wraith Dragon, continued. I believe this will be the fourth session that we've been engaged in this combat. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and pick up where we left off, which was Initiative Mark Christinger Vester at Initiative 15. The dragon just spun about, turned its head, breathed its radiant and shadow fire straight across to everybody, and I believe you're currently in pain or dying. Yeah, Master Vester, you're up. One last note. Its initiative started at the start of the initiative. Its divine bubble popped, so it's not active until it gets a chance to take another legendary action, which is after your turn.
No pressure.
So right now, any damage that would be dealt to it would not be soaked by its bubble.
Wouldn't it be crazy? Wouldn't it be wild if I just killed it outright right now at the start of this session? Well, Crow, here we go. And, 4 punches. Spending my last key point.
Hit, 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 hit. So first damage is 15.
I'm going to prevent it from taking reactions with Flurry
20.
of Blows.
20. And 16.
65. I'm sorry, 55.
I just did it one by one.
Does the 19 hit?
No, 19 doesn't hit. Sorry, you don't have advantage on that one. Apologies. Alright, solid blows. Any movement or anything?
And
Your bonus action was flurrying.
I'm gonna get behind him.
Okay. Kind of fly out.
See if we can just run along his body again.
Yep. Kind of like swirls snake-like, and you kind of fly and weave through him.
Opening of Dragon Ball Z.
Master Vester, after your turn, immediately its eyes kind of like move to you and then like turn back to the other group, and like there's a strange look of desperation on the dragon's face. Strange, to be sure, and you watch the divine bubble appear around it. Gains its temporary hit point buffer. Brooklyn. You have 1 hit point?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
And to be sure, you had Death Ward cast on you, but you didn't use Death Ward, you used the half-orc trait, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means I can get up twice more then. Once with Death Ward and once with my Paladin level 15.
Correct.
And I have unending confidence right now, but there's actually no way I make it to him unless I dash.
And even then, still.
Yeah. Even then I have to use my bonus action to teleport. So I'm just going to dash, I guess. And that'll get me there. And then I'll give Grok the option to dash, or not dash, move his speed.
You click the sword of the council for me, please.
I will take that. Great.
Yeah, let me see here.
Damn it.
Oh, he would have been in range. Don't worry about it. Forget it. Go ahead.
Gotcha.
That's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. In between Brooklyn and White Crow, it's going to use third legendary action point of its 5 to make a tail attack against Master Vester. Actually, I can use any of my attacks, I think. Hold on, let me double check. Claw or tail. So tail. That'll hit.
That'll hit.
Alright, make a strength saving throw.
That could be trouble.
Failure.
I'm falling.
Yep, so you take 25 bludgeoning damage. Are you unconscious or still conscious?
I'm conscious.
You do fall, but it's not a permanent fall for you because you have a fly speed. So basically, because you're kind of knocked out of the air, effectively, you're going to fall
Got me like 10, 15, 20 feet.
a little bit further than that. It's going to be about 60 feet.
All right.
Yeah, effectively taking it to kind of like a feather fall kind of positioning. White Crow, you are now up.
Seeing the bubble, and so Brooklyn's at 1. Raya,
Yeah.
how's Raya?
He looks pretty fucked up.
All right, well, I don't really like him as much as I like Brooklyn. So I'm gonna go over to Brooklyn. I'm going to
How are you moving away from me?
normally because you can't take reactions.
Correct.
Aren't I
Then-
great?
You're wonderful. You're ever. And then, man, what god does Brooklyn serve, or do you not? Are you just a good boy?
Halloween.
Elowain. And what's she the god of?
Life and death.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
On death?
Life and
and death.
Life and death. Okay.
It was like pull out the book. Sorry, everything stopped for a second. Whoa. Sorry,
Wait a
Master
minute.
Master. Everything.
Wait till I tell the church about this.
I'm gonna use my bonus action. And look at Brooklyn say, even in here, at the end of all things, at the end of eternity, feel Elowain's life flow through you. And I'm gonna use my Blessing of the Trumpet life, which says bonus action, cause one touched creature to regain a number of hit points equal to half its hit point maximum. So whatever, I don't know what your max hit points is, but you regain half of it.
So would I round up or down?
Round down. Always round down.
Round down. Okay, so I'm setting at 113 now.
That's pretty good. That's a good heal then.
It's not bad.
So I still have an action left, so I'll move over to Raya. I'll give him a Hand of Healing.
Okay.
Actually, no, my Hand of Healing is not that great. I'm gonna force quaff him a Potion of Supreme Healing, which was how much?
20d4 plus. Hold on. Great question. Supreme.
Is it 8d4? I can't remember.
No, Supreme's the biggest one. It is 10d4 plus 20.
Well,
So Raya will regain 47 hit points. And as
Yes.
I cover down his torso, I'll just say, fight.
I
Fight
don't,
like all your lives depend on it.
I don't typically like telling anybody's hit point totals because it's, kind of ruins the paradigm, but his new hit point total is 69.
Hey, Lamau.
Nice. Okay.
All right, I'm good. Doctor things.
White Crow done. Grok, you are up.
yep. How does White Crow look? Is he pretty banged up or is he okay?
Not even bloody.
Surprisingly spry.
Surprisingly spry. Cool. So I'm going to then do Cure Wounds on
Benson.
for sure's. And so, oh, come on, man.
And if you have another first level spell slot, you could throw a healing word because you have.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah, on him, you mean?
On Talith. I was going to say.
Oh, on Talith.
Talith is in dying. I wanted to cover this last session. We kind of.
I thought she was dead.
She got blasted down. She has not failed a death saving throw yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Because remember, Sophia got knocked down and then she failed a death saving throw. NPCs only get one death saving throw.
Got it. So 23 back to Benson, and then I'm within range for healing word, and so we'll do that for sure.
Okay.
Just enough to get. Let me get to a second level, and again she gets
Or
extra
12.
1d8. So 18 back. I'll add that to her.
I already got her. And then it'll
Okay.
go to her turn.
Right. That. So my wildfire spirit
right.
is going to just kind of back away a little bit, and Talith is going to YOLO and attack. Okay. I know she's probably not going to do anything, but
Currently bubble shielded, so yeah.
we-
21, 20, or 12, and 17 all miss. All right.
okay. Yep.
Benson.
I'm going to move over a couple
Mm-hmm.
and actually forward some. And then I'm going to hold my action once the bubbles popped. I'm going to shoot as much magic missile as possible.
Whatever your highest level is, yeah. Oh, you're readying an
that
action
one.
to cast magic missile once the
Yes.
bubbles pop. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. And what level spell are you using? This is
5.
important. yeah, this is important because if your trigger never happens, then the spell doesn't go off. But it will.
Correct.
It will
Fine.
happen. All right. Raya kind of looks to you, kind of hears the voice communication, and gets the gimmick now, and will ready his action. Bonus action: steady aim. Ready action: take a shot when the bubble pops.
His psychic knife, right?
Yep. And now Nafonda, seeing the situation, kind of even more kind of concerned, will panic, use his last legendary action option to Furious Bite. This will be against Talith. Because it's the only one in range, I think. No, it's not. Sorry, this will be against Rooklyn. Talith is insignificant to him right now.
How's Rooklyn in range?
It's got a range of 20 feet.
Oh shit!
Yeah, its bite attack is 20, its claws are 15, its tail is 15. Should be on
That's
the
bananas.
yeah, it should be on the card I sent you. But yeah, 36 probably hits. So Brooklyn take 48 damage.
Yep.
Cool. And then it goes to Naunafondus' turn. At the start of the turn, the bubble pops, which triggers reactions. Benson, go ahead and cast your magic missile.
Do a lot.
Okay, so that's I got.
What level did you cast it?
5.
Shit.
So that means that's a total of 7 times. So 7 missiles.
Not
7,
a lot, but
10.
10, 15, 17, 22.
Thank you. And moment of truth. Raya, attack roll. He is phantom knifing, so it will be this attack. And he has advantage.
Hell yeah, he does.
Hell yeah.
And he gets sneak, right?
Yeah.
And he crits.
Yeah, the whole thing. So
and
double
the dragon
sneak.
explodes.
I'm not rolling anymore. I mean, that's it. We're good.
It's fun. They're high, big numbers, and it's in transit.
Right between the eyes.
Okay, fine.
of his brain.
I will roll the sneak attack. You goobers.
We like big numbers because we're monkeys.
Hold on. It is not letting me just roll it. There it goes. 1 and 2.
wow.
So we're looking at 45 plus 11, 56, 7 or 60. Okay. So as the shield pops, now Naufondus' face kind of moves, seeing the knife kind of appear in Raya's hand. The missiles cascade up from Benson, fly straight in, slamming into it, and the knife kind of is thrown directly into the dragon's face with a loud kind of popping sound. The second that it does pop, the entire space fills with just this bright, brilliant yellow light. And every single wound, every single ailment, every single pain that you're currently suffering because of this fight washes away in a bright, brilliant light. You're able to see nothing besides light for a moment. You can't even hear anything because of how blinding this light is. And then you see above you a kind of ripping tear kind of appear above. You start to realize you're no longer in this space with a, filled with astral, stars, and you're surrounded by
Wacky
this
tree.
crazy tree or anything. Instead, you're inside of a subterranean kind of cavern, and it looks like the tree roots kind of extend out and connect with the stone. But the space above you appears to be stone as well, and it looks like it's being ripped open at this point. Torn open by massive clawed hands. You then see the head of a massive black dragon, of which you're familiar with, looking straight down at you as it peels open what is known as Wraithward, the Gloomhaven, or not Gloomhaven because that's copyrighted, whatever I called it.
Somber home, something home.
Gloomholm, I think.
Gloomholm.
Sad house.
Sad house.
The bummer hut.
And as the actual light of the world kind of peels in, it's like the radiance that you're being blinded by is being pushed away like it was shadow. A strange kind of light being dark. And in this space, you see that the tree beneath you is real enough, but you can see that the light of it is slowly dying away, as if the fey magic that was in it, the radiant positive energy that was in it, has all been consumed. The black dragon looks down to you, kind of lowers itself down kind of sauntily, and reaches out with its clawed hand, offering to take you up back into the world above.
I take it.
Okay.
You know?
Oh yeah.
As you come up, you see a couple of things that are relieving. You see that the destruction of the city of Vellum seems to have been completely isolated to this building and this building alone.
Job, boys.
The
Girls.
the dragons appear to have taken positions around Wraithward on its outer walls. One of them, the blue dragon Totsvig, is standing on the command tower where you last saw Gondar before his defeat. You see that the red dragon Ashmad is seated kind of on a position not too far from you. And the black dragon, as it kind of picks you all up, puts you into the center of Wraithward. You see that the building isn't there. Like, it doesn't even appear to have ever existed. And the ground was ripped open. You can see a massive dragon mark kind of placed on the ground where you're standing. That's been ripped open by Orbicus. Orbicus flies up and takes her perch kind of on this wall, kind of forming a triumvirate around you. And she looks down to you. You have righted a wrong. You have stopped something I could only put at bay. But for that I am thankful. But, as of late, your kind have caused us problems. We have granted you aid. We want nothing more than to just live by ourselves and keep to ourselves. And yet your people keep making excursions into our spaces. She points to the Inquisitor. Go back to your capital and tell your priestess that any further attacks against our people be considered an act of war. You've seen our power.
Crow will just kind of nod, give a shallow bow, and say nothing.
Ashmat kind of looks over at her, the red dragon who you've never met, and says, "Hey, chill out. It's a little awkward. It's a good thing that's happened today. They helped."
This was talking to us?
This is Ashmat. It's the red dragon.
Oh, okay.
The black dragon kind of looks over at Ashmat, confused and kind of annoyed that she's being kind of talked at in this way. And then the blue dragon kind of sweeps down and kind of lands near you, and then looks inside, and then starts kind of crawling into that space with a very kind of loud sounding kind of scraping as she kind of narrowly fits through the space. Ashmat kind of looks to you all and then says, "If you have any requests or anything to grant us tribute for my assistance in this matter, you can find me in the Northron Plains. The people of the cities up there near Valens and Munio know best how to treat me, so I don't have the same problems that our sorceress has been having. It's a long flight back. Ulricus, can you ask your sentinel there to sever the spell, please?" Ulricus looks to Grok, shaking her head, and says, "You've been lingering on it for a while, and you know it's been in the back of your mind. Let it end. Let us go back to our spaces." And then she points at Wycro again, "But don't forget my message to the priestess." And Ashmat literally just kind of like crawls to the side and kind of hits her with her swing, or her wing. "Wait. They don't understand nuance like we do. They're more emotional like me."
Yeah, cut it out.
You're being a jerk. So, Grok, do you stop concentrating on the thing that you've been concentrating but didn't know you were concentrating on?
I didn't know that I was yeah, I mean, sure. I think the
You
less
think,
time having all these dragons together, the better.
you think about it for a moment, and you realize that the spell that you cast, when you cast it to summon the dragons, something was kind of lingering in the back of your head, and you realize what it is now. And it's the mark of Oru. And it's been sitting in the back of your mind for a long time. It seems to have been your anchor to these dragons being pulled here. You realize that your connection as a sentinel to Oru was the only reason you were selected as a conduit for them to be summoned. And this appears to be the last time you'll ever have to remember her again. As you break concentration on it, the dragons fade into nothingness, just disappearing. And looking around, the one thing you notice, it's a bit strange, is Raya is not present. Seems to have disappeared in the midst of all the big dragon sounds and crashing.
That guy.
Not
Still has
exactly
that mask, doesn't he?
sure where he'll be. Grok, everybody roll a perception check. I'll roll stealth.
26.
Oh, not that
33.
great. Oh boy.
Yep, he got away unseen.
Okay.
I'd have let him go.
He got away unseen. But yeah, as you stand there in the aftermath, thinking about what you're thinking about, what's the first thing that you kind of have in mind to do immediately after the conflict?
Oh, noticing that Raya's gone, Grok would sort of think to himself, my responsibility to him is done.
Lucky you.
Crow, he'll kind of stand in front of the party, kind of look to address them, being kind of the youngest, or not young, but newest member, haven't been here that long. He kind of looks at Vester, says, "The Lord who was lost and now found." He looks to Rooklyn, the young paladin on the path of the hero, the sentinel of the forest, his duty complete, and the fortune teller who must have seen this all from the beginning. It was an honor to serve you. You are not heretics. In fact, I'd say just the opposite. I will return to the capital. My duties at Darklance, they never end, but know that I will always vouch for you. The records of these events will be taken to the church. You have nothing to fear from the Inquisition. In fact, I would highly recommend at some point coming to the capital. I'm sure the high priests and bishops would love to decorate you with accolades for what we've done here today. Atavius favored us, not that beast who said his name with a forked tongue. It was us who was guided by the straightest arrow. And he takes a deep bow before you all. Thank you for your service to this realm.
Travel safe,
back.
Crow. Be good. I'm gonna shimmy back down the hole of the ground and collect Sophia's remains.
Um,
So I'm pretty broken up about all this.
you'll note that they're not there.
Well, damn it.
As you're
What did
kind
that
of
dragon do when it shimmied down here?
as you're kind of looking around, you kind of are peering in the darkness. Your dark vision isn't extending terribly far. Do you light a torch?
Yeah.
As the light kind of takes hold of this space, you hear a voice say, "Is that you, Christinger?" And it's Sophia's voice.
I'm awful sure it is.
She walks into the light. She appears to be completely healed of all the wounds that she suffered in the conflict, like she was restored to life by some powerful amount of positive energy that was dispersed at the end of the
Good find.
conflict.
That's my girl.
She smiles.
Let's get out of here.
Okay. The two of you fly out of the cave. Grok, as you're kind of you see Shambles dip into the hole. Right, White Crow kind of gather himself as he's, getting ready to find a tavern to prepare for a long journey. What is Grok's plan? What is he thinking in this space, this immediate aftermath?
He turns to Rooklyn and he says, "Rooklyn, what are your plans? Maybe we can travel together for a bit and spend some time contemplating in the forests."
My goal as of now is to go retrieve the items I left with the chef, and then take my parents to go see Haziel's egg.
I think our paths might follow the same for a time.
More than welcome to join us.
Tell your folks we said hi.
Brooklyn, as you kind of stare out into the distance from Bellum, the mountains of Icefang can be seen in the north pretty well from here. You know which one about is where Haziel sits, and you also know the way home very well. But Grok, as you kind of see him looking forward, you kind of say what you've said and kind of think back to where you've come from, and think about all the others who didn't come this way, sentinels that fell behind. Ballerina who lived, Bellerin, her brother who died in your service, Juralis who died in the last, trying to make right of what Chalk Reskafar was doing, what Oru was wanting to change in its good path. And Talith, who stands there right next to you, smiling, the one who came along the way. One whose martial power you tried to emulate for a time, but felt it was necessary to walk your own path on fire. And so what better way to continue your path looking forward to that which burns eternally and will ever burn again, Haziel, the Phoenix. Benson, your path in this is very obvious. You have a lot of work to do. School starts soon.
I would be at least the thought of getting the doors working and trying to find a way to connect it to each of our group in case we need to quickly get back together.
Absolutely. Well, you do know that Brooklyn has a means of, at any time he wishes, he can return to the heat of Haziel, and you know the teleportation circle there. How one would communicate with one another is a difficult matter, but you do know there are some trinkets that would allow for it. Sending stones, which would allow messages to be passed across great distances. In fact, you believe you've heard some rumors that great advancements in how sending stones work have been made in a city far to the east called Nog, a great city of magical knowledge and also artifice. Not exactly a place you've been thinking about too much, but since your path in your mind is making sure everyone stays connected, perhaps it might be best to go somewhere where the experts in these matters reside.
After checking in with the school.
Oh, duh, of course, yeah. Absolutely. Very much so. Okay. I would say in the aftermath, a few months pass. I do know that this would be before the grand tournament. But is there anything in particular in the kind of like immediate few months aftermath, or month or so aftermath, that you'd be interested in kind of making sure that everyone knows your character would want to kind of do?
After going to the great church, which I believe is in the capital, and handing over my testament of the events that transpired to clear the names of the retinue of the hand, Crow would have retreated back to his lab in Darklands, and he wanted the samples he took from that realm of life, the fungus, and just the goo from like those were those snails real that were on the tree?
No.
Okay, the snails were there. Okay, so just essentially the fungus and the bark samples. Just because it was a realm of life, he was trying to essentially see if he could find, like, essentially solve his life's work of attempting to cure, was it the red pox, which is the
Red Death, yeah.
Yeah, the red death that was housed within his own body was cured, right, by the life energy when we killed Nautafondus.
Yours was, yeah.
Mine personally, and his hope and goal is that maybe something in that flora would have held something. So that's pretty much what he's been working on. That's his life's goal, essentially.
Okay. After a fashion, probably a day or so after your report was turned into the Hierophant, your doors opened inside of your laboratory, and in walks a very familiar, but only through kind of iconography, presence. The High Priestess herself has kind of stepped into your laboratory. She appears to have a number of consorts with her that are following behind her, and she seems to be kind of like waving them back. And she says, "You are the one they call White Crow, correct?"
I am, Your Grace. I think that's how you'd address the High Priestess, or is it like Your
Your Grace is good.
Grace? Yeah. All right, that.
She says,
I'll settle for your grace.
"I understand a matter in the Mudis region has caused quite an issue with the nobility there. I understand that your work here at Darklands is very important. However, at current, we have no bishops in the Mudis region due to unfortunate circumstances relating to the former Hierophant. I understand it is not something that you particularly are keen to do with your studies here. However, a second matter in Mudis of import to me needs to be addressed as well. Other reports have come in from that region besides your own, and to my understanding, there are a group of knights in that area that serve much greater powers. One of those knights wore red armor and wore a red horse, and was fought by our knights as they defended the train's construction. Another report, though scarce and singular, states that a green knight went to a town of goblins north of Mudis and to a town of our own called Mortis, and unleashed the Red Death upon those places. I would ask you to go and serve as Bishop of Mudis, but also as Protector, to ensure that the Red Death does not spread in the southern point of the Kingdom of Munio, and potentially make its way here. You can accumulate whatever you'd like from Darklands and any attendance that you wish, of course.
Your Grace, I am a scholar and a doctor, but I am also an arrow of the church. If you wish to point me back to the west, to Mudis, I will go with haste. I will have my attendants come behind, bring with me my supplies to set up a appropriate laboratory so that I may continue my work. But I will take this title and this role.
One last thing. The one you reported on, Christian Vester. Your words on paper spoke highly of him. But I ask you, does he serve Atavius? Even if not willingly? Do you think that he is a boon for this land? Or simply someone who rose to an occasion that was set before them?
Lord Vester, as he would be.
Lord Vester.
He is a hero of this land. I saw with my own eyes when the Dragon of Death called upon our Lord's name in vain for his blessing. Master Vester did not hesitate, and he still overcame that beast, fighting the blows he rent into the beast were the straightest I've ever seen. Surely our Lord was guiding his fists. There was no other way he could have pierced that demon's hide.
You see her, as you kind of mentioned the dragon speaking Atavius' name, there's a look on her face that's troubled. She's read it, of course. It's in your report, but she seems to be troubled by the reminder of it. She doesn't bring it up, but you do notice that there's this kind of... The best way I can kind of describe it to you, Steve, would be like there's a test of faith here. One of the most potently law things was corrupted by death, and still spoke the name of Atavius, even in its evil or vile state. So for her, and even for you, it's kind of like something that you think on, but you've obviously decided that, the manner of right was being corrupted because of death. And she seems to be thinking the same thing, but there does seem to be a similar kind of inkling even in the High Priestess's mind.
Yeah, it's almost like we don't want to believe that Atavius would give him power willingly. Like,
Yeah.
surely it was some sort of corruption.
Right.
He couldn't possibly. Like,
He stole it. It had to have been stolen.
100%. There's no way.
If you act as Lord in Mudis, or act as Bishop in Mudis, and you have the opportunity to speak with with Lord Vester again, tell him the relic that was given to him by the Hierophant has been bequeathed to him by the High Priestess herself.
It will be done.
She turns. The attendants kind of like, head out with her. One of them remains and hands you a book, which you recognize as a similar journal to what you have and what we're writing in when you were taking notes on Vester. It's a ledger. This ledger in question seemed to have the mark of the bishop on it and a notation inside that just states to the Bishop of Mudis and the name Albert Valken placed inside.
Cool. And just for my own volition, do I outrank the Curio of Mudis, or am I essentially work in tandem with him?
So bishops are religious figures. They work towards the matters of the church. Kyrioses are government officials, so they actually work towards matter of the state. So what happens is in matters of law enforcement, they would yield to you. In matters of governments, like maintaining peace and the like, you would yield to them and ask them for permission to assist in matters. So it really just depends on what's happening. If a big ass dragon flies down and starts fighting, you could take the charge. You could take charge and deal with that. But if there was like a riot or something happening, and he had to kind of like deal with like some sort of upbringing in his town, it would fall to him.
All right. And then I guess as we're wrapping up, just kind of reaches under his desk, pulls out a new white mask, freshly. But who makes hats? Not cobblers.
Hatter.
Freshly made.
Unfortunately,
fresh leathers,
it's just a hatter.
freshly dyed white. Goggles of night, fitted
Bro
perfectly.
got the new drip.
Yep, new white mask, extra fresh. This one not blown up by a meteor. Good stuff.
It's got the Adidas stripe on it.
Very good. Shambles, I'm assuming you spent some time with your sister. And
Yeah, I'm gonna semi-retire for a little while.
That makes sense.
Through the ringer.
You see that she very quickly takes charge of the aftermath. She very quickly kind of takes hold of Bellum, and she doesn't act as curious. No. Instead, she focuses on making sure that the guilds inside of the town, the merchants' guilds, all the types of like craftsmen's guilds, are given a certain kind of seat at the table. And the Council of Coin is actually dissolved away from its original aspect of being just the people who could buy seats to everyone having representation. The only benefit that she keeps from the Council of Coin is those that sat there before are allowed to form guilds of their own. They are the only people who can make guilds beyond this point. All the guilds
Within the city.
Within the city, of course. She gives herself the right of not being on the council, but acting as the president or presider of it. So if a vote comes to a deadlock, she can break the deadlock, and only she can. She calls her position the Arbiter of Coin, creates it and drafts these rules and full, and basically states that the Kyrios of Vellum will no longer be dictated by birth, because in sooth, Ashene Christinger was actually the last Kyrios of the town. Technically.
Seems like good changes. I don't know much about government, but that seems reasonable.
She is very inclined to make sure that you have no problems, unless you specifically try and like go towards them. But the thing that she stresses is that the properties that were House Christinger's will now be House Vester's. However, they will remain on one side of the family, yours, the side of the family that was still connected to House Christinger because of your
I
birth.
get that big empty tower and that beat up heap of dragon attack.
Correct.
What a dream come true.
All yours. Great vacation spot. She of course will try and make sure that the Masons guilds and the such are given basically your hero's ransom from the town to afford an actual construction of placement.
He wouldn't stay in the town at all times. I
Sure.
know he's got a couple loose ends, particularly he set up a meeting place in what was it? Not Monday. The old bronze shrine
Yeah.
that he's got to stamp out,
Okay.
but it shouldn't take him too long. But yeah, he's got a couple things on the docket.
Okay. Anything else in mind that you're kind of interested in getting into, or anywhere directionally you'd go? I know towards the end of it, you're obviously going to make your way towards Osiria capital.
Oh yeah. It'd still Bellum would still be like base of operations, but it's like, okay, I've got the remnants of the dragon cult. I've got to, I've got their number. I know where they are now. I'm gonna go take care of that. I'll be back in a few days. Oh, I've got, that demon I'd like to keep tabs on.
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. Things that are
Just
options.
adventure light.
Right. Perfectly fine. Brooklyn and Grok, it sounds like some of the same. Heading up to hometown, see the parents. They're fine. If you do plan on taking them up the mountain, they very much prepare and are very interested in the process. Grok and Brooklyn, you take the parents up into the mountain, and they meet with the giants. And it's a very religious experience when you make it through the heat of Haziel and return back to the egg, because you can see that the egg has started to crack, which means in maybe not too long, actually, the phoenix should be reborn. Phoenixes don't typically stay down for very long unless something is barring them from being able to kind of come back to life, like what was the case when you first came to the heat of Haziel, the ice that locked the egg in place. But that wasn't the case when you put it back on its cradle last time. So if you remain for the rebirth of Haziel, she treats you both as allies, and there's a lot of exchange between Haziel and Grok in particular, due to their connection with Oru before its demise.
Yeah, and the fire.
The fire. Do you have any ideas in mind as to kind of like what you would want to ask or like request of Haziel, Grok, or like you're just wanting guidance? You would know that the Anguis Wood is now undefended.
Well, one of the things Grok would want to do separate is to go back to the Anguis Wood and maybe cleanse the area that Uru had encamped in.
Okay.
But he would probably want to ask Haziel from his time as sort of a sentinel of Uru, how to prevent the dragons from coming together again like this time.
Asil would be confused by the question, and you kind of get a feeling or a sensation that that's not really something that should be you concern yourself with. The dragons weren't the ones that created the problem. The dragons were the ones that tried to solve the problem.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems that dragons are very much of a mind, metallic or chromatic, it doesn't matter, of a mind to kind of keep to themselves. The metallic dragons are a bit more coordinated and community focused. Like, they aren't going out and just, doing whatever they please. Whereas chromatic dragons are very territorial and very much keep to themselves and want things.
Perhaps it was Brock's feeling of being duped by Oru that's leaving him feeling a little worried and suspicious about what happened, and doesn't want those dragons who came together and were so powerful to at some point decide something that might not be in the best interests of everyone. So I guess maybe he's more suspicious and worried than anything else.
If that's something you are concerned with, you could communicate with dragons directly and kind of work towards kind of forming relationships with them. Not so much to say, like, becoming their servants, but at least communicating with them in some means or way, shape, or form. And if that is something you do engage with, you will learn quickly that Raya's whereabouts were... I don't know if they were pretty obvious, but it does look like he is still in and about the world, but it does also sound like he still acts as servant of Orbicus, the black dragon of the southern portion of Mudus.
Okay.
And Brooklyn, family's great. Azil's great. Anything in particular you want to add?
After taking his parents up there and stuff, and then if they want to go back home, taking them back home, Brooklyn would probably just start his own little exploring, going around, just seeing the sights, helping people that need to be helped, stuff like that.
A lot of the remnants of the Azumatan Knights that did not join with them when they joined with Calareth, and a lot of other, hedge knights, vagabonds, and the like, start seeing what you're doing and kind of start emulating you. You do hear very quickly in the Mudus region that they kind of formulate around Blue Gate and in and around the Hamstring Hills. It sounds like their main source of power is Barod, where the White Dragon fell. They call themselves the Culver Knights.
If they seem to be doing pretty good, then probably try to have good relations with them,
Like Culver.
as a backup for if they get in a situation they need help with, they can call on me, and if I need help with certain things, I can call on them, kind of thing.
Very good. Why Culver, you ask? Good question. Yeah. Barod was destroyed by a white dragon, but its Kyrios from before was ensymboled by turtle doves. And since Barod is basically coming back into its own, the new Kyrios is not part of the nobility, but the Kyrios who did die there wasn't a coward. His servants were, especially that mage, the psychotic one, but he was seen as kind of a heroic figure who stood with the town as it was destroyed. So these new knights kind of, not only emulating Brooklyn, but also other heroes of the era, or of this time frame, call themselves the Culver Knights because they're from Barod, which is a young and up-and-comer, and Culver is basically just a small dove.
Thank goodness they have a bird motif.
Yay! Why Culver, though?
That's just super.
You know what? Most of the bird things happen to the west of the map. Just ignore the west of the map, okay? Benson School's going great. Somewhere in the middle of that first kind of couple of weeks, you feel like you've kind of, got everything. You've got a format. You've got a pathing. And Raya shows up at the school. He doesn't seem to talk to you. It doesn't seem like he's here to talk to you. It seems like he's here to bring someone into your audience. The
Oh
individual
god, I thought you were gonna kill it.
The individual in question has like white blondish hair. She's wearing a very dark black gown. Her skin is very kind of uh, like soft chocolate color, and she is gorgeous, but at the same time, like very much kind of sinister looking. And Benson, your eyes of true sight tell you that that's not her. She's a dragon, a black dragon. Orbicus stands before you in human form, and she says, "An interesting school. I'd like to make a donation."
Anything?
She throws a book out onto the table.
I take the book and look at it.
It's a book filled with spells, ancient and old. Very, very potent spell book.
If I hold it to my book, does it transfer into them? Or is that just scrolls?
It feels like this book itself is very potent. You could tear the pages out, but something about the book itself would lose its power.
I wouldn't want to do that. Oh.
Yeah. She says, "It is where I gleaned most of my magical prowess. It should help you in your school. I consider my debt to Ashmedea repaid, as you are a servant of her as well." And you see Raya kind of look at you like, not angry, just kind of like knowingly. And she says, "And since you are a servant of her as well, I would hope that you are more capable in communicating with her directly."
I'll see what I can do, and thank you for your donation.
Of course. That is all I came for. My business with you is completed. Please make sure that a good word is put in with the Dragon Queen. She turns and heads out.
Bow while she's going,
Yeah.
and then look at Ryan and say, "Where are you headed next?"
Raya kind of unaffixes the mask and looks at you. "Don't know. I'll figure it out." Smiles and kind of like as his smile is starting to take shape, he puts the mask back on his face and walks out.
I make sure to lock the door.
You're pretty sure that wouldn't have mattered with Raya.
That'll barely slow him down.
I'm just saying,
It hardly would matter for her.
paranoid, but still, he's paranoid.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a side note, I really would have liked it if Ryan killed me. That would have been a very good ending. I think
That would
that
have been funny
awesome.
as hell. But Jeremy's not here to do it.
Yeah, that's true. I would much rather have Jeremy do it.
I genuinely thought your reaction to seeing Raya show up at your doorstep was to cast shield.
Oh, it was going to be. I was like, oh no.
Perfectly fair. I'll do a couple of bits on wrap up for characters that kind of fell off to the side or their storylines might not have been super integral. Are there any characters that you're curious about how their stories would have played out or what happened to them after your disconnect?
Roderick and the other boy king.
Roderick is currently correct, but we'll discuss him in a second. Roderick is currently being taught the kingly ways in Liberus. He is set to become the king, the regent, the pelagic arbiters, the judges that rule there currently, have him sitting as the 14th member of their council. And basically, he only gets a vote if they declare that it's something he should weigh in on as king. Because some matters of state in Liberus, the kingdom to the south, aren't touched by the king. They're only handled by the judges.
Is he sort of a figurehead?
No.
Almost, or is it just?
No. It's similar to your situation, or to the situation we discussed with matters of the church versus matters.
Okay.
The church is separate from the judiciary. The judiciary is separate from like the kingliness. A king's main goal is to act as the focus and like leader of the armies and governance. They're supposed to maintain the law, whereas the law is supposed to be ruled upon by the judiciary, and then the religious aspect is supposed to declare like a lot to do with everything else, but only so much in kind as to direction. So if someone's starting to do something that's like not quite churchly, they can be overridden by the high church.
Okay.
Donovan was never the king. Actually, he is not related to them. Instead, he is the son of an individual named Avran Normac, who was a holy swordsman who fought during the end of the Civil War. In particular, he defended the actual Boy King during the final conflicts with the Lich Majir. His end was at the hands of the mother of the Boy King, and she also killed her own son as well at the same time. She was a diva, which is a type of being that has very much to do with past lives, connections to past lives. And when she killed the two of them, she fused their souls together and sent them forward to death to be reborn at a later point. Unfortunately, there was an entity in death that granted the Boy King an opportunity to live once again. And 60 years later, Avran Normac woke up, a reborn with the skills and capabilities of a holy swordsman, and the memories of a life he never lived, because that individual wasn't him, but at the same time was. And that character is played by Jonah on our Friday games.
Neat.
Yeah, indeed. So Donovan was told he is the Boy King, and he has the armaments. So very much by right of acquisition, he is currently the King of Fire, but he by blood is not.
What about the blacksmith's son and wife that we brought back to life?
Doing great. He's in the school, as I mentioned. He's not very good. He's not the best capable mage, to be sure. And the mother is doing well with the new blacksmith that's been afforded. She is very much focused on religion at this point, due to the nature of the rebirth of her son. And she's joined with the reliquary guards, or reliquary stewards in Bluegate to kind of learn a bit more about the faith, and also, understanding it quite a bit better.
The Dark Flame Orcs, I'd check in on them after a fashion.
Doing great.
Are there any of them? Okay.
Yeah, doing great. From what it sounds like, they have maintained a pretty strong presence in the woods there. And the current goal of theirs is that they are hunting. They're trying to hunt down a green armored knight who caused some problems for a number of number of goblin tribes that were in Gelida Woods, besides the one
That is
was...
one of the things we meant to do, but never got to.
Yep. Anyone else?
Did you mention Mirage?
Mirage?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mirage is fine. Still doing the adventuring thing. No one knows exactly how far east he went, but east was the direction that he left to. With the sounds of conflict in the east, with the Lady of the Deep and the strange armies of the succubi causing issues in the Broken Blade Coast, it's probably the case that Mirage ended up on the good side of the fight, if he did end up that far. Or he might have gotten stuck at a lake somewhere in between there and had to fight a dragon turtle, some assholes unleashed on the world.
How's he doing?
Whoops.
The dragon turtle is currently in... Nobody knows. He doesn't come up.
Yeah, but he's doing okay. That's all I want to know.
He's alive. He's not causing
We
problems.
sprung him out of jail.
He's not
And the
Stampy.
Baron?
Stampy.
Oh, yeah.
So we cut to a scene high up on a ridge in the Icefang Mountains. You can see Rooklyn and Grok kind of trudging their way up the snow. But off in the distance, a massive elk stares off in the distance. As the elk kind of looks to them, you see hanging on his saddle, which still remains on his back, a bit of cloth, Leon's scarf, kind of just dangling on the side.
Oh, Leon.
Just looking for Leon, huh?
Always been following you guys and trying to find Leon with the people he's connected with, yeah.
Wait, did Leon die?
Leon died horribly, yeah.
Oh, God.
Leon found a knife that caused him to go insane, and he tried to murder the dwarf paladin that was played by Joe for a time. The dwarf killed him, but killed him with Calorith's hammer. And when Calorith basically knew where it was at that point because it was being utilized, teleported to it, took it from the dwarf, and slayed the dwarf.
Damn.
Yeah.
There was a time we had like a revolving door of players.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's true.
What of the Frost and Fire Giants?
Doing great. Working together in unison, maintaining the heat of Haziel.
Good for them.
It sounds like they're also helping with the efforts to move the Iron Road to the west, and also to get it into the Dwarven lands of Von Rock.
Is he the super horse?
It finally caught up with Benson. It's right outside the school.
Nice.
Was
It's
Gondar
real
killed in the
tired.
Battle of Sad House? In the siege?
Gondar was killed in the battle. He was destroyed by Orbicus. He was in the command tower, and Orbicus slayed him there.
Cool. Maybe that's something White Crow will do. Maybe I'll convert the rest of these mercenaries into good,
Some of the
religious soldiers.
many of them
for my
survive.
cause.
Some of the Honorbound have become members of the Culver Knights, but others still have maintained the Honorbound's infrastructure outside of this space and are slowly kind of regrouping to maintain their mercenary status. There is a lot of, with the individual, who's the guy who's currently running it still? Oh my god, I can't remember his name. It was the one who was wounded a lot in your guys' adventures. What's his name?
Kane?
Yeah, I believe it was Kane. He's still running it, right? But he's like decrepit, like broken, and like not quite as healthy as he was with the very onset of this game. But he's always having to explain to anyone who's trying to hire the Honorbound. No. That was a Splinter Cell. Yeah, no. Yeah, he was a bounty hunter. He was very crazy minded. He doesn't. He wasn't going by what the traditions were. He wasn't the one who started it, even though he was the one who started it. The one who started it is, and they start naming off random different people. And as a couple of names start to grow louder in their group, they start saying that those are the ones who founded it. Until that person dies, and then they say it's someone else.
Nice.
Whoever the most popular mercenary of the company is the leader of the company. Or the founder of the company, sorry. The leader is always Kane.
Is that snake guy still in hell? Being eaten over?
You mean? Oh
The
yeah.
Spirit
Spirit Naga?
Oh god.
Good, fuck that guy.
He's
What
gonna
a-
come back as like a villain.
The plan worked.
He's in the hell of greed, just constantly being devoured. Yeah.
What of
Or hell of
Sally and her
wrath.
family?
Hell of wrath. Sorry. What's that?
What of like Sally and her family from?
Oh,
Vance
doing
as
great. Yeah, they when you get back from your trip with the parents, like they've been maintaining your parents' work while they were gone, so they're doing great. Sally's always had a liking for Brooklyn, but if he's not actively pursuing like any kind of romantic relationship with her, she very quickly moves on to another fisherman, or probably a handsome passing knight who comes through.
I feel like Brooklyn's focus would just be trying to like help people. He wouldn't really care about nothing like that right now.
Despite your mother saying you should.
Yes.
Her grandson sounds like something a parent would say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What of the magic shop lady we visited every time we went to Moodus?
Fran,
Fran? I was gonna ask about Fran.
Her name wasn't Fran, it was Rilko.
No, it's Fran.
we called her Fran.
She's doing great. Yeah, she's very much loving the fact that Moodus, by the end of the month or so, has received the Iron Road. She actually reconnects with a couple of her family members in the Green Bottle Halfling clan, and she doesn't stay in Moodus too much long after that, because a lot of the merchants in the area start to try and make rules against what can and can't be done. She's not a fan of that kind of stuff. She just likes selling what she sells, buying what she buys, selling what she buys, So she makes her way down south a little bit, heads to the city of Bellum.
Nice. She's an old friend.
Jimmy the Cleric?
Jimmy DeClark. Jimmy DeClerc maintains connections with the school of Benson, but stays in Moodus. The guy really likes it there. Out of character note, the reason why he really likes it there is because he has a stash of devilweed that he's been growing for a long ass time to the north of the town, and he hasn't been caught out by the law. And the church doesn't come out this far to test and see if he's maintaining the lawful efforts of Atavius.
Oh, well, that's going to change.
Well, now I know, and so he's going down.
Not my business. Never hurt me.
It's medicinal, I swear. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's the case.
Panic cure red death checks. Oh my god, this is it.
Like, have we ever thought about just
Just smoking a lot?
what if we roll the Red Death in with? Then we'll just have it, but it'll be fine.
Like, we'll feel better about it, you know? Dope. Literally. Anyone else?
Involving the heat of Hazil, is it possible for them to make a way for me to live there if I ever traveled there, or is that I could live in the Frost Giant Village and then just walk back and forth?
You could live in the Frost Giant Village or the Fire Giant Village. I mean, you could definitely have a home kind of place for you there. You're not going to take up much space comparatively. They're giants. And yeah, it shouldn't be an issue to form you kind of a place to stay. Obviously, not a permanent home.
Yeah, it's just more of if I'm in this area, an area that I could go in and do my business, sleep, whatever I need
Stay
to
for
do.
a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom's not interested in moving into the mountains at all because she used to live in the mountains in Vendar, and that's why she left. Because she wanted to live somewhere near mountains, but not in mountains. And she really likes, right on the coast of a lake. And your dad doesn't care. He's gonna do whatever his wife says.
Understandable.
Like a good husband should. Anyone else?
Trying to think. I'm sure we've forgotten something.
Oh, for sure, probably. You can always check your notes.
What about that
Yeah.
Leviathan that was in
Good one,
Cloudy
Josh.
Lake?
Leviathan still reigns inside of the sea of Cloudy Lake. It doesn't cause trouble for anybody. It doesn't seem to be causing issue at all. And Brooklyn, in your studies, what you learn is the troglodytes that were killing passers on the road between Banser and Bluegate were actually trying to cause it to wreak havoc in the Cloudy Lake by stirring it up with those sacrifices. So you understand that the troglodytes have been destroyed by the Comus Palatinus, and that's no longer an issue. So it's kind of gone back to the depths.
Yes.
Oh, Eric with a K.
Haha.
Is he still in limbo?
He is. White Crow's missions kind of move him away from that process. The Hierophant's arrows, besides, start maneuvering towards kind of getting assistance. The one piece of assistance that is the most sound, and actually comes to a fruition of beneficial, is the arrow he sent to Talanya in Varhuin to the south. And that individual comes back with not so much a cure, but a means of abating the poison, so that he will basically be left with the initial problems of the poison, but the poison will no longer cause any more issue. It'll kind of just cause the poison to be removed, but leaving the wounded state that was near death. Basically, the poison has done quite a bit of work already and was close to killing him before he was put in stasis, and that work can't be undone magically, but the poison will no longer do any more wounds to him. So now Eric is a bit worse for wear, I would say. Much more
Is he paralyzed now, or what? What's going on?
I would say, he can still talk. Are you familiar with Star Trek, the original series?
Tiny bit.
The meme of Captain Pike. Do you know who Captain Pike is?
No, you listen to me.
Okay.
He's the original. Yep, absolutely.
Well, yeah. Did you see how he looked in the court martial?
Oh wait, yes, I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So basically, he's like that, except that he can talk and move his head and face. He could probably move a hand too, but not. He can't pick up a sword or anything. But his dagger master is right there with him all the time, so he's fine.
He's got his little goblin.
Yeah. Also, Schmickel is there as well.
Spickle.
Hell yeah.
Anybody else that you're curious about? No.
I don't think so.
Okay, perfectly good. Absolutely fine. So what I will say is the end of the entirety of the story. I want to stress the nature of the name of it, just so it's not like lost on anybody, and everyone kind of understands why it was called Saga of Three Kings for the longest time. Now Nefandus was always planned as being one of the three kings, a tyrant king, a potential ruler and destroyer of the land. Roderick was always planned to be one of the kings. The original plan was for Dan to play that character, but Dan's schedule became complicated. But the character did come to a level of fruition. I just felt that keeping them as an NPC in the group based on the track record of NPCs at that point was a bad idea, because Jeremy would get them killed. So I removed that element from it. And Donovan was always kind of planned as being the third element to it, as a hero who would jump in and do things to help out. But the direction he was going on after the Calorith fight was very different than what you all had in mind, which was bouncing all over the place. And there was no way I could justify him showing up every so often when you were going into subdimensions inside of old crypts that were made by elves. There was no way to be like, oh, I'm here also. That just wasn't going to happen. The goal was for these three characters to be prominent, for one player to actually be involved in this kind of triumvirate nature of the world. So it was a relic of something that kind of was in the planning stages and kind of got ousted because of scheduling. But I think it worked out. I think the nature of the game worked out.
Do we
who
get
became the
XP?
You get XP.
Who won the Saga of Three Kings?
Well, again, it wasn't a
We
fight.
did.
It wasn't a fight between three kings. It was just a story of three kings, so a bit different. I would say the loser would definitely be now Nefandus. He definitely got ousted. And then the actual third king, like not now Nefandus the tyrant, but the third king, was mentioned very briefly in the Osirian kind of notice. And that was more for me, plotline wise, because I wrote one character out of my campaign setting and kept an element of that character in. So I thought that was necessary too, but we didn't go too far into him. And I think if we had, it probably would have been more just bogged down and separate from what you folks were wanting to accomplish, which I feel like you accomplished a shit ton. Crazy amount. And that's why in the new game, my plan of attack in it, my process is very much going to be goal oriented. I want you to have agency over what you command. I want you to have agency over what you have. And I want you to have agency over your wins and your losses. I feel like killing characters is something I don't do as often as I used to. And so I want to make sure that you're aware when we move into my next arc, which will be sometime in May, I think, or June, depending on how long Chris goes, it will be a lot more lethal. I know you guys have gotten the absolute bluntest of the stick on when it comes to the games that I run, but I feel like you're the only ones who have proven kind of, and again, no insult to the other groups. Narratively, you're great. We're having lots of fun, but there's a mechanical element here that's a bit different in my mind. I feel like I can kind of raise the bar when it comes to severity, if that makes sense.
Like, is this going to be a meat grinder level, like Tomb of Annihilation level of meat grinder?
Well,
or not that brutal.
While we're talking about it, let me just go ahead and go into a spoilers mode. I haven't written it all down, so I'm not going to like send text or anything. But
I just need to know how many backup characters I need to brainstorm.
when you start building your character, you will build your character, and then you will build a second character. And the reason why you're building that second character is because that character that you're building, the second one, will actually be of one class, and everyone will have the same class. That class is Lingering Soul. When you die, your soul will persist, and you will then take control of the soul character, and you will still act like a party member until they can get you back to a position where they can reform your body. How do they reform your body, you ask? Your character's experience, its life, is peeled from its soul through a means of conglomerate magic to restore your body. So, let's
Oh,
say
boy.
let's say you're 6th level and you're almost 7th level and then you die horribly. A lot of your experience is going to basically be refunded at that point, taken away, to make sure that you can continue to have your meat body back. Yes, that
Okay.
concept is very Souls-like in my mind, but the
Yeah.
game's process that I've been building is very much a blend of Vermintide and kind of like its gameplay methods, mainly like its adventures. Like in a Vermintide game, like it's something I haven't really done in a D&D game ever, and I can't wait to do the first one for Threshold. But you go into a city, and that city is not a place you want to be. It's a very hostile place to you. And the city acts as a dungeon, but there are things inside of the city that you can kind of do within that aren't like just fighting and, you know, planning and seeing the world around you and kind of using the environment as well. That's one main thing of the thing. One of the artists that I used maps from, in fact, the one that I used today, the big map that I used today, Sispeku, is a part of, probably pronouncing it wrong, but they're a part of a group called Burrowbound, and they release these really cool maps of cities and like the like, with interiors and exteriors, and I just feel really inspired to kind of like use those as places that are not nice places that you go to that are happy places to visit, but more places that you're trying to reclaim from some other active kind of process. The area you'll be in is very war-torn, very crushed, very not friendly, very hostile. And that's another thing, too, that this game has that this new game won't have. And that's, you have had a lot of safe places you can kind of teleport to, get to, and be at to kind of help you with matters. Some of them have been kind of jokes. We're going to Banser to meet with Brooklyn's parents. Some of them have been like, oh, well, this place isn't useful anymore. Fuck it. Like Moodus. But some places are always great, like Bonrock. Like, you've had spaces where you're like, we got to go to Bonrock to do the thing. So I very much want to avoid creating those kind of spaces and instead kind of have you always in a kind of state of survival mode. Or close to it.
All right, who's playing the Ranger? Sounds like we need one.
Again, don't plan
Favorite terrain, city.
don't plan too far ahead. Once the handout's out, you'll have a lot of information that you'll need to kind of construct your character that might change your mind as to what you need and don't need. And again, I'm apologizing already. It should be done sometime after Easter, probably before Chody's next game. So those who are watching at home, just to make sure you understand like the scheduling process, Easter we're not running, obviously. Chody has volunteered to run a series of games for us while I'm finishing my planning for what will happen next, which is Threshold of Revelation. I believe, Chody, you're planning on streaming that on your side of the world, right? Or do you
Either one.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me either. Whatever you want to do. Again, you're in control. The game that Chody has planned up so far, as to what I've seen, is looking really great. I'm very interested. Although, yeah, I'm very interested. Shaolin Monk, SHOWLIN. I'm sorry. It's still in my head, and it's the most hilarious thing ever. And every time I'm like, I'm gonna play a serious Inquisitor type character who's a cleric. It's gonna be great. And I'm hanging out with an owl man.
Yes, you are.
Brooklyn's a rabbit.
And a rabbit.
Oh, I can get over that.
I think Jeremy's a fairy.
So fucking cool.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, thank you for watching. We are going to end a little early today. We will see you not next week, the week following. And if it's not streaming here, I will be my stream will be playing it anyways. So thanks for watching. See you all
Bye.
later.